guys, what's up? So we've been doing the wiring on the centre console and pinning out from the stock wiring loom to try and get things working correctly. We finally got there, or 90% of the way. I've still got some of the wiring to do in the back for the AccuSump and fuel pump, but I think it's time to make the dash, just so it's a lot easier instead of trying to move everything once it's wired in and tucked up, once we got rid of the bird's nest down the bottom. So we're going to make the dash out of sheet alley, and it's going to be cut on the CNC plasma, so we're going to need to take a few measurements. Just going to be a sheet that comes out and down. Mounting is the hardest part, which is going to be riv nuts, most likely across this seam joint here, which is 2 skins unfortunately, so that's going to be a pain. So all we've got to do is find out where the centre is, measure across the entire dash bar, mark your centre, which will be under there, which is slap bang actually there. I measured it a minute ago, and then we'll mark off some points across here, say every 100mm, maybe on the end here every 50mm, and as we mark across, we'll use a spirit level against the dash. You can mark off pretty well where you want to be, so just mark it across every 100mm, 50mm on a tighter radius, so we get a nice idea of the curve. So once you've measured the curvature, you're going to measure how far you want it to come down. Now we want it to come down roughly 150mm, I think, just so we can cover up a lot of all the stock stuff that's been dumped in here. Obviously a custom loom wasn't on the cards for this one at the moment, but we're going to basically 150mm, we're going to change that to 40mm or 30mm here, because it's got to go under this piece, not get caught up with any of the wiring, and then it's got to go under or over the top of this far piece, which has got less distance, and then we'll go back to 150mm on the very end. So I took some basic measurements. I did actually retake some different measurements. I was going to make the dash slightly longer, but then I realised the angle was going to be too high, so these are the wrong measurements at the minute. But the bottom piece is right, so the 150, 550, 550, 140 and 30 deep in the centre. And it's still 1240 the dash, but the actual measurements were that in the end. So 110, 133, 143, 155, 163 and so on. And obviously we'll mirror the other side. So we've done from the end 100mm in and then 50mm increments across. We'll flip it and you'll see we'll do that in eMachine. So we start off by making the 1240 lower piece, and then we'll just put in all the measurements and the distances that we measured out. So the first one's 100mm and then it's 50mm increments going across. This is on eMachine, which is actually a free license, assuming you don't want to export into DFX and things like that, but you can certainly draw stuff up, and you could even send it to me if you like, and I can cut it out for you. Once we've got all the measurements in, we just get an arc, a spline should I say, and we just match that spline to the right hand side of each block, because that was the actual measurement taken. A little bit fiddly, but once we get there we can then delete all those blocks out, keep the line, mirror it on the other side, and then join the two together, and that basically creates our curvatures. And then it's just sorting out the bottom. That was 150 by 550, and then 140 by 150, and then the centre section, which was 30mm, which was again 550. And then I'll put back in the fold line just for visual. So now that the basic form of the dash is done, we're just going to put some radius on these 2 or 4 or 6 corners, just to take the edge. In fact, oh yeah, no, we will, yeah. You can only put a small radius. In fact, no, we'll do them separately. Just put a radius on there, 20 mil is fine. That'll just smooth the edges off, and we'll do the same on the inside here. I thought that was going to be a fold line, but it's not. We'll just put a 10 mil radius on them ones. The fold line's still going to be way above. It should be interesting to try and fold with 30 mil hanging over. But that'll be the fold line. We'll export this into DFX, sling it into sheet cam, and see what we got. So we've come into sheet cam. We're going to load in the file, import drawing, alley dash, and there she is. This is on the backgrounds. I can change it, but again, there's no point. The background's on a 2x1 sheet, so it doesn't quite fit in. And we'll set up the cut. Outside offset, layer 0, tool 33, which is going to run at 5,000 millimeters a minute, and set for 1.6 mil, but it's actually going to be 1.2 mil. Path rules 5 mil lead in, that's no problem. It doesn't really matter what sort of lead in. It's going to be on the back side, so we're not going to see it. Overcut 2 mil, yeah, that's fine. That's all fine. So it's going to start its cut here. Start on the straight edge, come in, go around, overcut by 2 mil, and then lead out. And hopefully that'll be it. All the holes I'm going to cut afterwards, and I'll drill them where I want them, where they suit on the dash, instead of trying to have holes that aren't going to be used. And I'll do any other mods to it once it's cut. We'll get the post-process sorted. And we'll save that across. Parts, Civic, A dash. It's a tap file. I like to write tap on every one so I can see it, even though it's saved as a tap file. So that's it. We'll get the machine set up, we'll get the materials on, we'll get the compressor turned up, and we'll have a go at cutting it out for the first time. So before I cut this out on the plasma CNC, I've just made a quick template out of a piece of cardboard just to make sure that I'm happy. Now obviously I've done it on the measurements, but it's been cut out with a pair of scissors, so it's not overly accurate, but it does give us an idea of what the dash is potentially going to look like, obviously with some radius corners instead of sharp edges. But it's a quick, easy way just to see what's actually going on, just to make sure you got your measurements right, or close. So we've loaded the file into Mach 3, and we're just going to do a test run. And this is just a test run. I want to make sure that it stays on the sheet. That little pause is the entrance into the nodes, so hopefully that won't cause a problem. That was close. We're going to support the sheet when we cut this, so we'll press down in places to stop it bowing. I think I'll even throw some water on top of the sheet. It's a bit of an old sheet, but it's what the customer's given me. So we've got the compressor wound up, ready to roll. I just did a quick another dry run just to make sure nothing was in the way. Plasma's on 30 amps, earth is on, so let's see how she goes. Quite a lot of warpage. Hopefully it fits. Got to put a fold in it, which is going to be quite difficult because the folder I've got is less than this, but we'll see. So I've just thrown the dash in and it doesn't actually look too bad. It's quite tight to the cage, but it fits up the top nice. The only thing I didn't take into account, which to be honest I wouldn't have anyway, but is the fact that that little dimple actually protrudes a few mil, so I'll probably just cut that out manually. I've got to drill all the holes anyway, but it fits in. Once we get that fold in there, shouldn't be too much of an issue. So because the folder we've got only goes up to I think 11.45 or something like that, must be in inches originally, we're going to fold it on the geo ramp just like this. 5mm bit of box, pair of clamps at the end, and because it's alley it's going to fold really easily. Managed to get a pretty good fold in it. It's not 90 degrees because of the angle of the dash versus the roll cage and the rest of it, but that's a pretty good fold, surprisingly. Bit of 5mm angle iron, and then I used a bit of 2mm box just to help me pry it down, like put it across and then just sort of twist it. I found it actually a lot easier just to push it with your hand. It's only 1.2, and then you make them in 2 sections, so but I need to sand it off, clean it up, then we'll have a look at the hole placement and we'll get it tidied up and in. I've just removed the dash. We're only actually going to run 2 riv nuts on this. One just there and the other one just there. It's pretty secure with just 2, so then it's just vibration, which will be a standard sort of foam, sticky foam, and we'll just run that on a few contact patches across it, and then the dash itself will be attached by P-clips around the dash. This isn't supporting some large console or air system, it's just a sheet of alley with a fold in it. So this is ample, so we'll just make sure these are nice and tight. We'll put some holes in the front of the dash and we'll have 3 running across. That will stop any vibration. Next up is measuring how far down the P-clip comes on the dash. So we'll just place it inside, mark off the distance down it would come, or up in this case, and then we'll mark it how far in we want to come. So it'll probably be 50mm in, and then whatever that is down, and then we'll mark across, and we'll do 1 at each end, 1 in the centre, and that should be enough to hold the dash in. So we'll mark up these and then we'll go and drill them out. I've reinstalled the dash now with the 3 holes that I drilled. Just put Allen key bolts through them, and hopefully you'll be able to see this, but that is pretty secure. I mean, you really need to pull around and push on it to, and considering it's not taking any weight, even if it had to take gauges, a centre cluster is plenty strong enough. And that's it on the inside. Just a clip. Last thing for me to do is to bolt the centre console in, both down the bottom, and then mark the holes and drill it through the dash, and that should really stiffen everything up. I've also put a strip of foam on the underside of here to stop any vibration. That's the dash all finished, or dash and centre console finished. Still got a little bit of wiring to do. This has all got to be flocked. Obviously sun shining in your face, but for the fit up it's all done. And this is seriously solid. It's all not going to go anywhere, no vibrations, no problems at all. So once it's flocked, hopefully I'll get a couple of pictures of it, or video, or partial video. The only other thing to do is put the cluster system in, which will be mounted somewhere up there. I've yet decided how I'm going to do that. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications. You can also check us out on Facebook. The link's going to be in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.